Hello and welcome to the first session introducing the IB Psychology course. In this video, you're going to find out what psychology is, what you're going to learn about in the IB Psychology course, and what the differences between standard level and higher level are. You are not required to have any prior background knowledge of psychology to be able to do well in the IB Psychology course. You're going to develop the skills necessary for the IB Psychology course during the course itself. First, please complete the following task. If you are alone, imagine there are other people around. First, write down what you are currently doing that other people can observe. Then, write down what you are currently doing that other people can't observe. Pause the video and continue watching when you complete the task. Actions observable by others can include sitting, turning your head toward a piece of paper, holding a pen, writing, and so on. The psychological term indicating an action observable by other people is behavior. While others may be able to observe that you are sitting, they can't directly observe that you are paying attention, seeing something, thinking, remembering, experiencing an emotion such as interest, or a need like hunger. Psychologists use the term mental process for such functions of the mind which are not directly observable by others. We can only find out about mental processes in indirect ways, such as asking people about them or measuring their internal bodily reactions. We can also conclude about mental processes based on behaviors. For example, even though we do not know if a person is frightened, we might assume so if we see the person running away from a wild animal. Behaviors and mental processes are related to each other, and psychology is the scientific discipline which investigates them. Even though psychologists usually differentiate between behaviors and mental processes, the term behavior in your IB Psychology exam questions is going to encompass both behaviors and mental processes. In the following task, you are going to think about how psychologists could study behaviors and mental processes. People frequently engage in conflicts. Think about the following two questions about conflicts. First, how do you think psychologists could study conflicts? Second, do you think it would be appropriate for psychologists to observe people's behaviors during conflicts by intentionally causing one between two groups of people, even if the people could become aggressive toward each other? Why or why not? Pause the video and continue watching when you complete the task. Depending on what psychologists are interested in, they could study conflicts in many different ways. For example, they could observe the behavior of groups in conflicts, like soccer hooligans. They might also ask people in interviews about who they are frequently in conflict with, how they behave in conflicts, and so on. In addition, psychologists may also conduct in-depth case studies of a specific conflict, such as various conflicts between countries. You are going to learn about multiple research methods psychologists use in the IB Psychology course. Psychologists must not cause serious conflicts, as they could have harmful effects on the people involved. Psychologists are obliged to respect various ethical considerations while designing and conducting their studies. Let us turn to explaining behavior. In the next task, think about why people help other people. Pause the video and continue watching when you complete the task. There are many factors which contribute to helping behaviors. For example, helping may lead to secreting chemicals which make people feel great. In addition, there might be a genetic component to helping. One could also say people have evolved to be helpful because such behaviors have made it easier for our ancestors to survive longer and reproduce, thus passing on genes which play a role in helping behaviors. On the other hand, deciding to help someone may be just due to expecting them to do the same for us. Finally, helping can be considered a learned behavior, seeing as children are often taught that it is nice to be kind from a very early age. Psychologists realize how complex behaviors are, which is why they study them from various approaches. In the IB Psychology course, you are going to learn about the biological, cognitive, and sociocultural approaches to understanding behavior. The biological approach studies brain structure and function, neurotransmitters, hormones, heredity, and evolution. The cognitive approach investigates memory, thinking, decision-making, and emotions. The sociocultural approach studies the influence of groups and culture, as well as learning by observing others. Studying and explaining behavior is not all there is to psychology. Think about fields and human activities in which people can apply the knowledge obtained by psychologists in their studies. Pause the video and continue watching when you complete the task. There are many fields of applied psychology. Here I'm just going to point out the 4 which you can learn about in the IB Psychology course: abnormal psychology, developmental psychology, health psychology, and psychology of human relationships. Psychologists study these from the biological, cognitive, and socio-cultural approaches and apply it to obtain results to improve the quality of people's lives. Abnormal psychology deals with causes, diagnosis, and treatment of mental disorders. Developmental psychology studies brain development, cognitive development, development of identity, and various influences on cognitive and social development. Health psychology investigates determinants of health, explanations and prevalence rates of health problems, as well as health promotion. Finally, psychology of human relationships deals with personal relationships, cooperation, competition, prejudice, discrimination, conflicts, and pro-social behavior. In the last part of this session, we'll look at the 3 differences between standard and higher level versions of the IB Psychology course. The first difference is that higher level students also study extensions to the 3 approaches to understanding behavior. They study animal research, cognitive processing in a technological world, and globalization. The second difference is that standard level students study 1 option, while higher level students study 2 options. The final difference is that higher level students also write paper 3 in addition to the other papers. This paper involves reading a previously unseen study and analyzing it according to several questions. We have reached the end of this session, in which you were introduced to behaviors, mental processes, psychology, research methods, ethical considerations, the 3 main approaches to understanding behavior in IB Psychology, 4 options in IB Psychology, and differences between standard level and higher level. In the next session, we will take a more in-depth look at the concepts you are going to learn about in the IB Psychology course.